The Miami Marlins went into the 2024 season with one of the best starting rotations in baseball. So what led to their downfall in the 2024 season? We will discuss that and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, riding solo today. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Do Subtext. It's an in-depth personalized experience through text message alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. Now that we're in the off season, we're going to be doing so much stuff on there. You can ask us your keeper questions, dynasty questions. We'll have some rankings on there for you. I know I'm wrapping up my starting pitcher rankings, my way too early starting pitcher rankings for 2025. So if you want those, make sure you check us out on Subtext. Link is in bio. And guys, this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right state can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And all right, folks, if you've been watching the last few episodes, Matt has started our team reviews. And if you have watched those episodes, or if you haven't, I'm just going to give you a little kind of an idea of what we're going to have going on here in the off season. So if you have, maybe skip about a minute ahead. If you haven't, just lock on here with me for this next minute or so. I'm going to explain it to you. So we're going to be doing team reviews for the next month for 4 episodes out of the week. 1 episode of the week will be most likely a 2025 centric episode. We will have, I believe we're going to do an awards episode together, Matt and I, next week for our episode, but we will have 4 solo episodes a week, 2 for myself, 2 with Matt, doing team reviews. So look out for those, and then look out for the 2025 episodes. Those will be dropping on Mondays. So with that being said, today I am reviewing those Miami Marlins for the 2024 season, and we'll just say it wasn't a great one. I feel really bad. As I mentioned at the top, Miami went into the year really looking like, not necessarily maybe a playoff team, but at least a team that will fight with their starting pitching. Didn't necessarily happen. They finished the year 62-100 as far as their record. The Miami Marlins was really bad. Couldn't hit, couldn't pitch. They weren't as bad as the White Sox, but you know what? They were, really bad team for the year. I think as we get into the names, it will really break down why they were as bad as they were. I don't really want to, spend too much time on the team as a whole. Let's really just get into the players, right? And as we get into it, we'll unlock and unfold and talk about, the team as a whole, mix that in there. So gave you their record once again. The Marlins from 62-100. We're not a playoff team, one of the worst teams in baseball. One of the main reasons, starting pitching, and let's get in. Sandy Alcantara, right? Their number 1 starting pitcher, their ace, Tommy John surgery this year. A lot of innings on those arms. Over the past few years, we kind of have talked about that a lot on this podcast. Since the COVID year, he still threw 42 innings, made 7 starts, which was a lot. But if we go back to 2019, Sandy Alcantara has thrown 858 innings, over 132 starts. That's just a lot on his arm. Sandy will be 29 in 2025. I still think he's going to be a very good starting pitcher. Will he be as elite as he was in 2022? I don't think so. But could he pitch to around his career numbers? I think for sure. Sandy Alcantara in his career has a 3.32 ERA, over 138 starts, 900 innings, 789 strikeouts, and he has a career 1.15 whip. So I think Sandy is somebody that in his peak years can contribute in whip. But on the whole, on his career, he's always been a little bit higher on the whip side. So I think, when, pitchers come back from Tommy John surgery, we tend to see control tend to be one of the last things that comes back with a guy like Sandy, who's, been a mixed bag, in his career. I would tend to think that he leaned towards the side of taking a little bit longer to gain the control back. So I'd expect Sandy next year to give us, 120, 130 innings if he can stay healthy. A low to mid threes ERA, a 115-ish whip, definitely under a K per nine. Sandy is not much of a strikeout guy, so I wouldn't be expecting that from him. I think the thought behind Sandy is that he's going to come into 2025 ready to pitch. I would think so. If that's the case, top 30, top 35 for Sandy Alcantara next year. That would be my thought process. Once again, that's of the mindset that he's going to be ready for opening day. I can't risk my number one SP on him. If everything's rolling right and he's in spring training, striking guys out, giving a little bit of length towards the end of spring training and all signs look a go, could I see him sneaking into your SP2 slot in those 12-man leagues? Get Sandy up to around SP24 next year going into the year if everything's looking right? I could see it. I think preemptively, though, now, I will preface this, though. If you're hopping in on the subtext and you're looking for my starting pitcher rankings, I'm keeping the injured guys out for now. I'm kind of throwing them to the side, and I kind of want more information on them before I throw them into my rankings. So they're going to be in their own little sub portion of my rankings. The injured pitchers will be. So Sandy, if I'm forced to be put into my rankings at this moment, I'd probably have him around SP35. I'd be interested in him as my SP3 if I had two more sturdy starting pitchers at the top right now. But it's going to be let's see where this thing goes. But don't underestimate this talent of a guy like Sandy Alcantara, who has been an elite starting pitcher in this league for at least since 2019. Well, not 2019. Let's say 2020 through 2022. So we have a good 3-year sample size of Sandy Alcantara being elite. And then in 2022, in 2019, Sandy was breaking out. So we'll give him a little bit in that year. Let's keep things pushing though. Let's talk about Eury Perez, another Tommy John surgery guy. He, I believe, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, I think I could fact check myself here of who got hurt first, whether it was Sandy or Eury. Let's see. Eury went up. Wow, it was actually super close. It was super close. Eury went out 3 days before Sandy. So they both might be back, before opening day, 2025. Eury Perez, though, if you don't know about Eury, a younger starting pitcher for those Miami Marlins, and this kid is just lanky. He kind of reminds me of a young Chris Sale almost, right? Has really, really elite stuff. The 6'8" frame, 220 pounds. He's got some muscle on him. In his rookie year in 2023, he had 19 starts in the bigs with the Marlins, a 3.15 ERA, 91 innings, 108 strikeouts, and a 1.12 whip. Eury Perez has always been dominant in the minors, big strikeout numbers, good pitch mix, good stuff. I really believe in him. And the thing is that I love about the Miami Marlins starting pitching is you have a lot of talented guys there. It's almost like, think the Seattle Mariners. They have Kirby and Gilbert and Luis Castillo. And when you have a lot of guys that are really good at pitching, not only do they help each other out, but it almost becomes a competition of sorts too, right? Of who can one up each other, who's the best, all that kind of fun stuff. So I think if Miami's going to have any chance in 2025, which I don't think they're going to have a good one, I think their starting pitching needs to lock in at the top. I think they're going to have to trade, a couple of starting pitchers to get some more bats, as we're going to see later on. Miami's not really deep when it comes to bats. So, I think Eury Perez is a keep. I think Eury Perez is somebody I'm going to be drafting a lot of next year if he's ready to go too. If it came down, if I had to pick between Sandy Alcantara and Eury Perez, if they're both at the same level of health going into the year, it's going to be a tough one. I'd probably lean towards Sandy. just because we have the firm track record. But I think the upside lies in Eury Perez, that I think his ceiling's higher. I think he could be of the low threes ERA with over that K per 9 and the solid whip, where Sandy has never really shown us over that K per 9. So if you're more of an upside play, you want to go Eury. If you want more of a safe guy like me, most of the time, I'd like Sandy. So keep that in mind. We're going to push through a lot more starting pitchers here because that is what Miami has. Then we will move into the second half of the episode, where I cover the few bats that the Miami Marlins do have. Those names and more coming up next. And we're talking about my friends at Booking.com. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. And guys, even when you go to your rival city, right? If you're a Yankees fan like me and you go over to Boston, you can even enjoy the cuisine and all the stuff like that, because like I said, Booking.com can make you, or the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. So once again, get the Booking.com app today and get started. And then are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for your everyday to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then, once again, I want to talk to you about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball's podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. As this, off season continues to go on, you can rely on Matt and I for dynamic content. You're going to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including, my starting pitcher rankings. Matt and I are doing some cool little deep dive statistics on, some of these team reviews that are only going to be available on the Subtext platform. And then, in the off season, we're really going to be only answering, keeper and dynasty questions like that through the Subtext platform. So if you want that kind of stuff, you'll be able to get it there as well. But all right, guys, you know what? Let's keep things moving here. I want to cover a lot more names for you. Let's move on to Jesus Luzardo. And what a mixed bag of a year for a starting pitcher that didn't really get hurt, right away like the Eury Perez's and the Sandy Alcantaras. Jesus Luzardo pitched for a little bit this year. A little bit is an accurate statement. It was only 66 innings. 58 strikeouts, 12 starts for Lazardo, but a 5 ERA and a 1.24 whip. Now, Lazardo, coming off the year he did in 2023 with the 3.58 ERA, the 32 starts, 178 innings, 208 strikeouts, and he had the 1.21 whip. I thought he was in for taking a step forward this year. And I was wrong. I think a lot of, analysis, fantasy baseball analysts were wrong. I think a lot of us had Jesus Luzardo pretty high. He got hurt back in June. He had that lumbar stress reaction. And he just missed the whole season after that. And it could have been something that he was dealing with all year, that he was just trying to pitch through. I'm a big advocate of that. I don't think Jesus Luzardo has lost talent, at his young age. I think he's still somebody that we might be identifying in 2025 as a value, because you know what? Everything in 2023 for the most part looked like it was trending forward. Don't get me wrong. His breaking stuff wasn't looking as good. He was getting hit a little bit too hard, but it was all stuff that I believed was manageable, that Luzardo could take the right step forward in 2024. So when we didn't see that, I was originally thinking, maybe he's a little bit banged up, something like that. And then the injury news came out and he missed the rest of the year. I'm still in on Luzardo, and I think we all should be. I think we're going to be able to snag him at a really, really good value. The stress reaction, I think, is going to be a manageable injury that he's going to have the rest of the offseason to, figure out and get right. I think we're going to hear good news about him. So he's somebody that I'm going to go out on a limb and say in 12-man leagues, we're going to be able to get him as our SP4. Probably similar to maybe Chris Sale wound up moving up in the as the spring training and stuff went on in coming into 2024. So Lazardo could be another guy like that, but he's somebody that I'm probably gonna have for now ranked over Alcantara and Perez. Just because I think the injury is going to be a little bit more manageable to come back from. I don't think he's going to have to, find his way back. He pitched this year. He didn't miss as much time as either one of those guys. So those are somebody I still really like. But, for time's sake, I can sit here and break down each one of these guys in depth and, spend a bunch of time on them. And if you do want to talk about, any specific player in depth, join us on Subtext. We can do that there. But I'm going to keep things pushing for time's sake. I'm going to get into Edward Cabrera next. Well, I want to say maybe the most healthy starting pitcher this year for the Miami Marlins, but Edward Cabrera was banged up this year. He only threw 96 innings, had 20 starts, a 4.95 ERA, 107 strikeouts, a 1.37 WHIP. Eddie Cabrera, another guy that I just thought could take the step forward, coming off a decent year in 2023. Dealt with a plethora of injuries. When he was healthy, he didn't pitch great. I think he might be like a lottery scratcher for 2025 because the talent's there. If Eddie Cabrera could limit the walks and, keep guys off base a little bit. But, it's not something he's, good at. He's really, really bad. He puts a lot of guys on base with those walks, and then he, gives up a long ball, and then that's it. He reminds me almost of a young Blake Snell, because Blake Snell used to do that a lot too. Blake Snell still does have bad control, but if Cabrera could figure this out, it could almost be Blake Snellish upside, where he has the strikeout stuff. He has the big frame, the 6'5", 217 frame. I think we see a big bounce back for Miami Marlins starting pitching in 2025. We might not see in all four of the guys I named, but we're going to keep our eyes really close on those four names specifically because I think Cabrera, Alcantara, Perez, and Luzardo are of the upper echelon. I'm going to move into two of their pitching. They're not prospects anymore, but they were. We'll talk a little bit about Max Meyer real quick. Max Meyer, was a very high-end pitching prospects for the Miami Marlins. Has pitched in the bigs a little bit, a little of the past, not the past 2 years, but in 2022 and 2024. This year in 2024 is 11 starts for Meyer, a 5.68 ERA, 57 innings, 46 strikeouts, a 1.42 WHIP. Meyer's going to be 26 in 2025. It's going to be a big make or break year for Meyer. I think they might be able to find a spot for him in opening day if he's going to be ready to go. There's a little bit of upside here. It might be a deeper league player, 15s, your only, stuff like that. But remember the name Max Meyer just in case he does start producing or has a big spring training. Doesn't really have a great repertoire like, some of these other pitchers that I talked about earlier, but there is a little bit of upside, just a name to remember. And one more quick name for you guys here. We'll talk a little bit about Sixto Sanchez from the Miami Marlins. There's a chance that Sixto Sanchez still has some prospect eligibility. Let's see. Yeah. Sixto Sanchez is still technically a rookie, even though he has pitched in the bigs since 2020 in parts. Didn't play in 21 or 22 due to injury. I think he had Tommy John mixed in with other injuries there. Pitched a little bit in the bigs in 2024. 14 games in the bigs, 7 starts, had a 6.06 ERA, 35 innings, only 17 strikeouts, a 1.59 WHIP for Sixto. But Sixto has pretty good stuff, man. I want to see him be a little bit more healthy. Hasn't really, he had 3 straight years hurt. 2021, 22, and 23 were all hurt for Sixto Sanchez. He has good stuff, better stuff than Max Meyer. So Sixto is a guy that, if he puts it all together and, figures it out, Maybe he's even a closer. Maybe he winds up doing like the AJ Puck type thing where, he gets a closing job. Because even if you go back and you look at the stuff he was doing in 2020 in the bigs with the Miami Marlins, right? He was pretty good. It was 7 starts back in 2020 for Sixto, 3.46 ERA, 39 innings, 33 strikeouts, and a 1.20 whip. So as a young 21-year-old, he was on the right track. Got hurt the last 3 years, pitched a little bit this year for the Miami Marlins. I think he is somebody that has a shot, as well as Max Meyer next year, to crack the rotation. We shall see, but definitely a name to remember. Next up, we will do bats with names like Connor Norby, Jake Berger, and more, but stay locked on because those names and more are coming up next. And we're talking about my friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. And guys, that's awesome with football season being here. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. And once again, make your money picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all NFL season long on Prize Picks. And guys, I'm going to talk about my friends here at FanDuel as well. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page when you place your bets on FanDuel. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on FanDuel. And guys, this NFL season, FanDuel is offering some of the best bets out there in the industry. So you should check those out. And once again, if you want to do so, you're going to head to FanDuel.com. And all right, guys, I promised you bats. We're going to do bats, but man, were the bats lackluster for those Marlins this season, man. They've given up a lot over the past few years, but they've gained a little bit. Let's talk about a gain. We'll try and, stay focused on the positive here. If you're watching on YouTube, I already put it up. We're talking about Connor Norby. Connor Norby came over to the Marlins, from the Baltimore Orioles. I was literally looking at that Baltimore Orioles hat on Connor Norby, and I couldn't get it out. But it came over from Baltimore, and goes over to Miami, gets a chance to play because you know what? Baltimore just had so many mouths to feed over there, so many young prospects. They said, you know what, we can afford to give some up. And, Connor Norby comes over to the Marlins, 36 games, 146 at-bats, 29 runs, 8 doubles, 7 homers, 17 RBIs, 3 steals, 15 walks to 52 strikeouts, and a 247 batting average. I will say this, Connor Norby kind of struggled to the finish line this year. He played a lot of games, a lot of adjusting to the bigs. It takes a toll on a young player. Only 24 years old this year for Norby. First taste of the bigs. I think we give him a little bit of break on the batting average, especially a guy that, the last 2 years in the minors, Norby in 2023 across 138 games hit 290. And in 2024 in the minors, 94 games hit 293. So Norby is a guy, not great play discipline, but can put the ball and play a lot, hits the ball hard when he does, has a little bit of power, has a good amount of power, has a little bit of chip and speed. He does, Connor Norby. I think he's going to be somebody that I'm fairly high on in 2025. For the given state of the Marlins, I think he's going to be a guy like I'm not comping him to this player, but he's going to be in a situation like Luis Robert, where he's going to be one of the better players on his team. He's not going to have a great surrounding cast, so it might be lackluster for Connor Norby in the sense of runs and RBIs. But can Norby hit 25 to 30 home runs with 15 to 18 steals? Because Connor Norby was in the 94th percentile of sprint speed. Very fast player Connor Norby is. So I want to say a 25-15 season where he hits 275, 280-ish. Maybe if he's hitting lead off or second, we could see him with 85 runs and 65 RBIs. So at a position where on Yahoo, I believe Norby is second and short eligible. I don't know if he played enough at either position this year to maintain both second and third eligibility for Norby on Yahoo. Let's check the positions. Let's see where he's going to maintain eligibility. I'm not sure if he played enough. I'm pretty sure he played enough second. Not sure if he played enough third. Fielding, yeah, there we go. Let's see where he played most of this year. He played. No, actually, okay, yeah, he did. Okay, I think he maintains both. He maintains both on Yahoo for sure. Norby played 32 games. 30 games at third, and then he played 12 at second. That's enough on Yahoo. I'm not sure if it's enough on other platforms. So Norby will stay second and third on Yahoo. That's second, so it's really going to help him, though. Second base is tough. A lot of injuries at second base. A lot of guys, lost eligibility this year. The second baseman got hurt. Altuve's getting older. I think Norby is going to be somebody that's going to be sneaky good at the position. I'm keeping my eyes on him. I want to see where he goes to draft Sun 2025. Let's move on to Jake Burger. I think we had too high expectations for Jake Burger this year. He still had a Jake Burger-ish type year, but I feel like he was getting really, really hyped coming into the year. He finishes the season with a 250 batting average, 29 homers, 76 RBIs, 68 runs in 137 games. As a 28-year-old, the move from I believe it was the White Sox to Miami. Yeah, White Sox to Miami for Burger. Tough park to hit in Miami. Can he give you the 30 home runs with the 250 batting average and sloppy counting stats? Yeah, I mean, he's really only a plus in the home runs at that point. I'm not huge on him. He'll be useful in deeper leagues. Those 12-mans, he could be, bench, second utility type maybe. Probably more on your bench. I think the 15-mans is where he's going to be key. Going to give you those corner infield, big power with the corner infield stats. Those deeper leagues, he's going to be useful for sure. But anything shallower than 15, I'm not really counting on him for much except a power play at most points. If you could balance it out. But I'm not drafting him high either. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to go, but I'm not paying up for Jake Burger for sure. Not doing it. Reminiscence of a dollar store Max Muncy. When Max Muncy used to 35 home runs with the really good counting stats and the 250 batting average was great. But if Burger's staying there in Miami, at age 28, going to be 29 next year. I'm not sure if he's part of their long-term plans. Probably not, but we'll see where the thing goes. I'm not really interested in Burger for 2025 unless it's a deeper format. Let's move on to Xavier Edwards. Interesting name, interesting young name. For the Miami Marlins, had a pretty useful season. His real got 70 games this year, pretty much his rookie season. 303 plate appearances, 265 at bats for Xavier Edwards, 39 runs, 12 doubles, 5 triples, a homer, 26 RBIs, 31 steals in 70 games. You gotta love that, and had a 328 batting average. Very D. Gordon-ish, if you want a Miami Marlins old school comp there. So yeah, man. Let's look at his 2023 in the minors. Xavier Edwards, 93 games, 7 homers. This kid's always hit for batting average. I'll tell you that. 346, 322, 302. Looks like an outlier in 2022 with that 246, but 351 in 2023 in the minors. Even in his 30 games in the bigs last year, 295. So I think Xavier Edwards is going to be a D. Gordon, a D. Gordon type player. You're talking about 50 plus steals in a full season where he could hit for a 300 batting average Hopefully they hit him first. Hopefully Xavier Edwards they go Xavier Edwards, Norby, and then however that rest of that lineup's going to play out, and it just looks really good for them. I like it. I'm going to be in on Xavier Edwards next year, I think. Let's check that position eligibility because I think he's got that Swiss Army knife thing going on too. That like, yeah, second and short, love it for Edwards. I'm in if it's a bargain because you know what? He's going to give you absolutely no power RBI. So, really a 3-tool guy, but those 3 tools can be useful if you play him right. So I was going to talk about Jesus Sanchez, had a little bit of a decent year. I don't really want to get into him too much. Maybe I'll just give you a breakdown on his numbers real quick. And then I want to get into one of their top, the Marlins' top prospects. Jesus Sanchez is still, a big guy, 6'3", 222. He's still young at 26, going to be 27 next year. Has a lot of pop in his bat, man. If he could ever figure it out, he could be a 30 home run guy. He stole 16 bags this year too, hit 252. Can he be a Jake Berger-ish guy with some speed? Yeah, definitely. A name to look out for in deeper leagues, 5 outfielder leagues, for sure. Jesus Sanchez, I do like him. I don't know if there's another level. I don't think so, but just a name to just keep in mind. But let's move into, somebody that I really like. Let's talk about Davison De Los Santos, hitting prospect for the Miami Marlins. He's 6'1", 185, has a lot of power. In the minors this year, Davison De Los Santos, 137 games, 294 batting average, 89 runs, 120 RBIs, and 40 bomb skis. So Davison De Los Santos can crush the ball, has a lot of pop, can hit for batting average as well. He came actually over to the Marlins in the AJ Pug deal from Arizona. So this was a kid that when he was in Arizona did have a lot of buzz around him. He's a known name in the prospect community, in the fantasy baseball community. He's well known as well. He's somebody that the Marlins definitely should be holding on to and building around because they don't really have any bats. To wrap things up here, Marlins have to move a bat for an arm. Only way they have a chance next year, only way we're going to be talking about them in any type of relevant manner. They have some pitching prospects. They have like 3 or 4 of the pitching prospects in the minors that are pretty solid as well. So move on from some of them, maybe one of the big guys and get you, a couple of, big league bats that can get it done. A couple of power bats, maybe somebody, maybe make a really big move. Maybe get rid of like a Sandy Alcantara and a Max Meyer if there's any value there. And you go and you get yourself a big name batter. You sign a big name free agent to bring in there too. Only way Miami has a chance next year. But guys, that is all for today. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after we're your first listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Our boy Sully does a great job over there covering the league in a different way than we do. Going to be breaking down the playoffs over there. So make sure you check out that him as well. But guys, until next time, see ya.